Morning, everybody. Very excited to come to you with a update, first update of 2025, whereas 2024 was a pivotal year for us, developing our very large copper and gold porphyry in British Columbia. It is one of the largest and the best copper porphyries in British Columbia, which makes it one of the largest and the best copper porphyries in Canada. We are set to come out with a preliminary economic assessment in the matter of weeks, which will provide evidence to this statement as well. I will be making forward-looking statements. So what is underpinning this PEA? It's about 7 million ounces of indicated resources in gold, about 3.1 billion pounds of copper in indicated as well. So in all respects, this is a very large copper project with a massive gold credit. And so our previous speaker, Sean Ruzin's comment, gold is here today, copper has conviction as a long-term metal, but if you have this ability to bridge gold into a copper project, you've got the best of both worlds, and that's why we have outperformed over the past 2 years, because we believe we are uniquely positioned in that respect. So what do we have? We have 3 levers. It's a district play, right? So our properties don't exist in different countries or different regions. It's a 35-kilometer porphyry district on North Vancouver Island. The first PEA is going to be defined by historical Hushamu, which was an ex-Utah BHP mine, Red Dog, and Northwest Expo, which was a new discovery that we made approximately 2 years ago that we've now defined into a resource. But the second arm here is through our exploration. We've just raised about $10 million to advance this higher margin exploration area to the north that consists of Northwest Expo, but also West Goodspeed. So this is not included. West Goodspeed has not been included in the 7 million ounce resources, but it's in that same northern quarter, which we're set to advance and expand this year as well. And the third part is our long-term optionality, our pre-discovery, massive lithocaps, 6.5 kilometer or 1.5 kilometer lithocap. You don't see lithocaps ever in British Columbia. They've all been eroded away. This is all part of that 35-kilometer porphyry district, and something that we will be looking to advance as well. So the big difference between the 2021 PEA that we issued is going to be capital intensity. Think about the Blackwater Artemis story, how they took a 70,000 ton per day project and reduced it from a capital intensive perspective into 3 phases, 20, 40, and then 70. Well, we're doing something very, very similar. Because we had this high-grade gold zone that we discovered 2 years ago, we are now going after that higher margin gold project in the lithocap, in the porphyry system, that bridges into the much longer copper gold project that goes on for many, many decades. So this is going to be, I think, transformational from a capital intensity perspective. It obviously has a massive impact on IRRs. It has a huge impact on life of mine, and has a very, very significant impact on returns, all of which you can derive from all of our continuous public disclosures over the last 12 months through resource metallurgy estimates that we've ticked the box every month last year to develop. So the project and the company has been created by Dale Corman. He's a mining Hall of Famer. He assembled a team that has over 200 years of finding, exploring, selling, and building major projects across the world. We have outperformed our peers. As I said, I think the main reason behind this is we have this incredible ability to bridge gold and copper, 2 of the most critical metals out there. Copper being, of course, the critical metal, arguably the most critical of those metals, but gold clearly being the critical currency that allows you to reduce your cost of capital when it comes time to actually build these relatively capital-intensive mines. We're very protective of our balance sheet. Over 45% of our shares are held by insiders and a handful of investors. We do not issue warrants. We do not do traditional flow-through. We do not want any of the stock flowing back at us at the wrong time. And so I think that's the other big reason why we have exceeded our expectations. We announced our resource estimate about 4 months ago, which is going to be used to inform our PEA. It's over 1 billion tons of total resources, which obviously hits that threshold of being significant for any large company on this planet. In terms of where we're located, this is a very important critical metal for our country, copper again being the most critical metal. There's not a lot of them that have been identified in the province of BC, and there's certainly not a lot of them that have already had the sunk cost by the governments to develop infrastructure that is going to be useful around a project of this size. So as we go north of the island, north of Campbell River, people don't realize was pretty much built, all of that was built for that island copper mine, the BHP mine that ran from circa 1970s to 1995. No roads were existing at the time, at least no paved roads. Port Hardy was only a 300-person town. Today, it is a set ripe for that infrastructure, for a project of this size. BHP's Island Copper Mine was in and around the same size that we're contemplating today. So the power, the roads, the ports, the town was all established. So that's what the Island Copper Mine looks like today. So still existing there is a port. The community of Port Hardy is only about a 40, 50-minute drive along a paved road into site. The local governments, including First Nation groups, are wildly supportive of this project. We have 2 consent agreements with our local First Nation groups, and the community itself was actually built through the Island Copper, the development of this mine back in the 60s and 70s. We also have one of the largest, if not the largest, wind farm to the north of our property, producing an excess capacity of about 100 megawatts of clean, renewable power that gets obviously wheeled into the substation, into the grid, and ends up getting sold to California. That PPA is going to be done in about 7 years and available for other consumption. Our PEA is going to essentially comprise of Hushamu, which, as I said before, was an ex-Utah BHP mine. Lots of drilling, lots of understanding around this deposit. It is a medium margin, high-grade zone in the valley, but it's a very large tonnage, over 700 million tons. That would most likely be mined in year 10 to year 30. As we go towards the northern part of the corridor, which is where we spent most of our time from an exploration perspective, the reason behind that is because this is where we see the higher grade, the higher margin, higher NSR value per ton rock. This is why we've spent so much time in this area over the last 2 years. So starting with Red Dog. Red Dog is the known open pit, very low strip ratio, NSR value per ton of about $30 to $35 per ton, which is approximately it's approximately a 60% margin based on a NSR cutoff that we stated in our resource. This is the easy mining breccia that you mine the first 5 years. Very, very low hassles. The new discovery zone in Northwest Expo that captured the imagination of everyone last year was because we hit that 135 meter zone of about 2.1 grams per ton, all at surface. And so that is something that has now defined this higher margin area that we are going to be informing our phase 1 portion of the PEA. In terms of exploration, this is also an area of focus. As you can see, the high grade margin comes to the surface, and we believe is essentially the lateral extent coming from a down dip portion, a down drop portion towards the southeast. So we've just raised $10 million, about 30% of our exploration budget is going towards Northwest Expo to try to find that continuous high-grade zone, which is only going to be accretive to any economics that you see. Red Dog, as you can see, Red Dog, West Goodspeed, all that happens within a 7-kilometer trend. Obviously, it's not a strike yet, but our objective from an exploration perspective this year is to convert that 7 kilometers into a 7-kilometer trend into a 7-kilometer strike. What isn't noted right now is West Goodspeed. This is the pod that's to the most southeast portion, isn't currently in the resource. And so what we're seeing here is about a kilometer strike, fault bounded, with grades about 0.5% copper equivalent, between intervals of 135 to 200 meters. So this is already what we're seeing, very consistent to that higher grade, higher margin zone that take into account the other projects as well. If that isn't enough, we have Pemberton Hills, which is about a 10-kilometer distance from where the main processing facility is going to be at Hushamu. Pemberton Hills, again, is the pre-discovery massive lithic cap, as you can see in this photo. It's mapped out about 6.5 kilometers long, about 1.5 kilometers wide. Coincident IP and MAG has been performed on it. There's approximately been about 11 drill holes, mostly through the lithocap, through this massive lithocap. The current belief is that it is tilted towards the southeast, and the area of focus is going to be towards the northwest, which was where we believe that potassic, that elusive potassic layer is. Currently, we are looking for a partner. This is going to possibly be a buried porphyry, which would potentially answer the question, starter pit to wet. It's a much larger system than what we've seen anywhere else on the property, and then as such, we do think that the best way to tap that value is through partnership. In terms of our First Nations consent agreements, this is what's enabled us to get our multi-year asset-based permits in record time, 14 weeks, than the usual prescribed 12 to 18-month period in British Columbia. This is something we are very well recognized in British Columbia for being the leaders, the thought leaders in the execution team that really drives this consent-based decision strategy. So in conclusion, this year is going to just build on next year. We've got the PEA coming up in the next couple of weeks. That we believe is going to be transformational. We will initiate our $10 million drill program in the next couple of months as we get our permits and as the drill season starts to emerge, and then obviously get some good results shortly after that. Thanks very much for your time. Have a great day.